Everybody has technical issues these days. I watch so many of the Instagram and everyone's like with their face really up close to the camera and saying, hold on, but I think you could see us both now. So I'm going to raise a glass to you, Melanie. Done a couple of things. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Cheers to ladies who lunch.
Cheers, Leanne, and all those ladies joining us today.
Yes, exactly. So, a bit of context is that I'm the author of the Hamptons and Long Island Homegrown Cookbook and The Art of the Garnish. And I first met Melanie, and I loved her right off the bat. So I think I met you at a Star Chefs event over in Brooklyn. And I kind of knew about Pisco, but really not so much. And when I had the opportunity to write this book, and Melanie and her sister, Lizzie, who's the president of their self-made successful company, Machu Pisco, but both Melanie and Lizzie, and then your cousin, I think it is, in London, were so helpful. Natasha, right? That's her name. Um,
Yes.
and I even acknowledge you're in my acknowledgments at the front of the book, so I really appreciate all of your help with that. But I started doing the Ladies Who Lunch. I sort of built on the uh, COVID cocktail parties that I used to do on Saturday nights, and became so popular with so many people. So people asked me to continue it. And then when the COVID crisis hit, I thought, what we really miss is being together. I really believe that ideas have agency, and when we're with each other, we can, really foster new ideas and new programs, new ways of thinking, exciting things. So it was a way to sort of engage without being physically present, as we sometimes are, even though most places are hopefully opening back up and so on. But I love this as a way to learn. And, when I first heard your story, I said, that is just a great American success story, and I want to be able to write about it. So why don't you tell our folks first a little bit? I know you said you have this beautiful glass that was your grandmother's, and I want to also, before I get too far afield, Bill, can you zoom in on this bottle? This is your beautiful grandmother who lived to 102, Amelia, right?
Yes, Amelia the Great,
Amelia the Great, I love it.
La Diabla.
And so this is her glasses and her. I have to tell you, I keep these little bejeweled things. I don't know, you have to tell us what they mean, but I put them in with my plants. I just love them.
That is a white udo, which is a good luck charm in Peru. It's actually a seed,
Ooh.
and we've made it into a little angel because La Diablada is a devil's dance between angels and demons. So we are hoping that we all go over to the good side at the end of the evening.
Being a little angel, yes, that's what we're hoping for. Well, I love that even more now that I know the background story to it. But why don't you tell all the great ladies? I mean, I've loved how you've managed to become successful, have truly delicious spirits. This I'm going to describe a little bit later, so I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to drink it before it gets diluted. But one of the fun things that has been an outgrowth of doing all the Art of the Garnish book and so on is creating signature cocktails for me, for people, for special occasions. So this is for an upcoming wedding, and I call it like I don't know, I think of the name, but something Pisco Passion drink, and it's for the autumn, so it has some muddled ginger, some of course your Machu Pisco spirit, some cinnamon simple syrup, some lime and pineapple, and it's got cinnamon sticks, as the pretty garnish, and some pumpkin spice. So, well, you tell your story a little bit about how you were able to create this successful spirit company. I think it will be inspiring for many people.
Well, I just think, Leanne, looking at your book and the work that you put into it, really just displays on full force how much you love what you do and the passion behind it,
Mm.
and really the level of excellence that you are operating on. The pictures are gorgeous, the recipes are delicious, the writing is so engaging, and I think that that is the recipe for success for my business too. I look at it, I think there are either two types of people that love to work, or those who look to avoid work. And nothing wrong with wanting to avoid work, but you just can't make
At a certain time, right?
a super high quality product if you aren't loving the work that's involved. And that is from every little detail, from research and collecting data, as you did, and making these extraordinary cocktails, meeting mixologists. And on my part, it is walking the fields, talking to the farmers, getting to know their story, and making sure that we are only supporting farmers that are growing their grapes all naturally with none of these bug and weed killers, so we can distill a naturally fermented wine that brings together all the goodness of earth. And one of those things is just being interested, and they're not really delegating the work to get it off your plate, but really getting knee deep. So I'm the master distiller, and I distill the natural wine that I ferment. I sit by the still for 30 hours. Everyone else is distilling their pot stills at 10 hours a run. I'm taking about 3 times as long because I believe in doing things mindfully, methodically. So I'm using a really low temperature, low burn. I see you're sitting in front of a beautiful fireplace there.
As I said, it was sort of end of summer, so even the drinks are going a little autumny, and it just sort of takes off the chills as we're going into autumn. But that's one part of your story, Melanie, that I've always loved, is that you have a women's co-op, is that correct, in Peru, that picks all the grapes for the
Well,
Pisco, and you manage it?
evolved from that, Leanne, because as it comes every March, we get interviewed for women-owned businesses. My sister and I both founded the company. Lizzie's in New York, does a lot of the marketing and the legal work, and I do mostly all the production and also marketing and work with our distributors. But what we found is just really want to connect with the farmers that are doing right by their fields and by the environment and caring about their family. So whether it's a man or female, we've expanded our network just because we were finding some farmers within our co-op that were using sprays, and who wants chemicals in their martini glass, right?
Nobody, that's for sure.
Taste is the
You,
ultimate truth teller.
it's happy hour for a reason. You want to stay happy.
And right, people drink to feel good, and
That's right.
I certainly don't want any of those chemicals in my drink. And so we just support anyone. We all know, we all have this intuitive knowing in terms of what's right and what not to do, and we can either choose to follow it or not. But I just always play by those rules that truth has a certain ring to it. So when you're connected to that intuition, you know what to do right in that
I think
moment.
you have that women's intuition, and I think there is a certain chemistry. It's like when you meet people either that, you know, that you just like, that you want to be with, or also from a business standpoint, that it just works for you and for what your brand is. So you were starting to tell us that you sit there and you watch the pot that
Yeah,
you're
we look
distilling.
right there. I mean, it's like a lot alike putting a fire together. You have to gauge the sparks and them there, just measuring the temperatures, because ethanol, that's the point of distillation. You're there to extract ethanol. And you can get to 40% alcohol in many ways. You can blast the furnaces in an industrial fashion. But what I do is I am using a slow distill movement, if you will. Like the Italians have that slow food movement. I cook the wine at low temperatures very slowly, because then you can differentiate between all of those alcohols that have those funky flavors. When you are running a distillation at high temperatures to get the work over and done with. So we go back to people that want to avoid work. If you're rushing to get it done with because you want to save on labor cost, then you are creating some strange compounds in your distillation because you're mixing the fusel oils, which are the tails, with the methanol, which is the head, and your body, which is the ethanol, is not as pure. So the key to making a highly quality pure product is, number one, starting with excellent raw material that's all natural, that has not been sprayed, and two, distilling it mindfully and making sure that you have really precise cuts. And purity is our decadence with Machu
It
Pisco.
really is. It really is. I mean, even as chefs always say, get the best ingredients and then do as little as possible, to it. But when I've seen so many more in the past couple of years, so many more people who are trying to do organic and local spirits, distilling them. We just bought some Hen of the Woods vodka, for example, at the Green Market in Union Square a couple weeks ago. People are starting to think about their local and unique spirits. If someone was trying to start up their own spirits, like your journey from coming up, tell them how you started with this idea. My understanding was that you had it when you were doing your Harvard MBA. Is that right?
Yeah, so our flagship brand is Machu Pisco. And this is what I did my thesis at Harvard in terms of how to create the first supernatural, ultra premium Pisco. Because at the time there was just really low quality rail product that was brought into the US in people's suitcases. So I wanted to create a global brand that Peru could be proud of and the gold standard. So once I graduated, I went down to Peru, put on a backpack, and learned how to distill. And I think the main distinction is that, I really want to do the work, and learning how to distill just differentiates our product from any other Pisco out there in terms that I'm distilling it myself. And that I think is the key. Just if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to ask the questions, you have to learn, and just like get in there. I mean, as much as hands-on as you were with the art of the garnish, I am with my production. And
That's sweet. That's very sweet of you to say that. What distinguishes each of like the different offerings that you have from Machu Picchu? Is there different quality grapes or different distillation times? How does that?
yeah, so Machu Pisco is made from the red grape brought over by the Spaniards called Quebranta. And this is like a Cabernet Sauvignon. And what you have there, the La Diablada that Bill is pointing to, is made from more of the muscatel grapes or fruitier grapes. And piscos are like wines. Each grape brings its own essence to the spirit. And who wouldn't want to be drinking a superfood in their spirit, right? It's
Right,
just when
right.
you compare drinking a rum, which is made from the residues from sugar production made out of molasses, compared to drinking a grape brandy. And that's the special thing about Pisco in general, is that you are differentiating each bottle based on the grape quality.
I see.
And
I see. Yeah. So now a lot of people get confused, even if they do know about Pisco, but I'm so happy to give you an opportunity to tell about the history of it because I love this, learning from you that Pisco really is from Peru. A lot of people like to claim it because it's such a fabulous spirit, but tell everybody about the history and the how it originated in Peru.
well, it is such a noble spirit. It was started 400 years ago in Peru in a little town called Pisco. And it was named Pisco because the indigenous, the Incas, named their birds in the Quechua language Piscos.
Wow.
So you would have condors and flamingos and all these little birds, colibris flying around in this port. So the port got its name from the birds. And it is just, oh, there you go. You know, Leanne, the flag of Peru is red and white
Right?
because the Libertadores that came, Simon Bolivar, that landed in Peru, he saw a flamingo upon landing, and the flamingo has the red and white colors. So it has to come to Peru, and that is more of a historical and geographic preference that I mean, more of chauvinism that we consider it to be the perfect ideal place in the world for the grapes to grow for making a brandy. So I'm not saying our grapes are great for wine because we're situated near the equator where you get tons of sunlight and a lot of heat, but they are fantastic for making a brandy because the sugars get such high sugar content
Right. Right.
from the sun, and they're irrigated by the aquifers, the underground currents from the Andes Mountains. So you're in these deserts and you have these pockets of oasis that are vineyards. So it is just really phenomenal.
I
How
think it's really almost magical, just the concept, the weather, the geography, the story behind it. And I've always been, my tablescape this time, you know, is all peacocks. I love this exotic birds, but I think I'm going to do a flamingo one because I love them and it'd be an homage to you. It will be beautiful pink ones.
well, that table just looks gorgeous,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I,
The colors, the
being able
blue, I love I have peacock plates, whatever. But I think everything that's with the art of the garnish also. But you eat with your eyes first, you drink with your eyes first. So the idea is that, before you even take a sip, you're taking a whiff of things. So, here, pumpkin spice, cinnamon stick, those kind of things really add to it. So we use lots of jewelry and things. I know you liked one of my creations with with your pisco. I had the passion flower that went with it, and I have my passion flower that I grow outside, and that's edible. And when I worked in Ecuador, we used a lot of fuchsia in the drinks because that's edible also. So it's really pretty reds and purples. So a lot of times Americans don't know you can eat a lot of these edible flowers. They see them only, as ornamentals. But, I think people can grow their own garnishes, or maybe that's another opportunity for people to consider. But having the respect for the land that you do and for the growers that you do, I think, is so extraordinary, and that's where people can really get inspired from you. But I so I want to come back to that, but I also want to ask, before too much time, is that so much a part of your brand is always seemingly about helping others, and especially women. I mean, you and Lizzie go to very, if I say, glittery, sort of glamorous events, and that you're always supporting good causes. So was that intentional, that that was always going to be part of your brand, or did you sort of evolve into that?
from the production side, we've always been espousing fair trade and paying the right wages. Um, I don't even feel like fair trade does enough justice because you're paying market prices when you're talking about fair trade. And sometimes market prices can dip below what is acceptable. For example, COVID last year, right? Market prices went to the floor for the grapes. So we maintained our commitment and our agreements to our farmers, and we always pay premium above prices, not just to the farmers, but also to our workers above the minimum wage for what is a decent living wages. And right now, you can pay a Peruvian 50 soles a day, and that's not enough for them to even buy a bottle of Pisco. So it's always been in our mind that we treat the workers right. And that's what capitalism is all about, right? I feel like it's a misnomer when you hear greedy capitalist, because capitalism is all about a win-win for everybody. It's been a system that has brought so many people out of poverty, and that's by respecting your supply side and also respecting your consumer. So we like to keep, I think we've got the lowest margins in the business because we
Oh,
want to
that's
make
great.
sure that the person at the end of the day that's buying it is the consumer, and you're not passing on all these added costs to them, because they work a hard day's work to get a bottle of fine liquor on their table. So our practices as a business just is very holistic, from the farmer to the worker to the end consumer, and having respect to not be wasteful in our production or our marketing, so that that great value is couched into that price. So you've got wonderful quality and extraordinary value with our products. And I think that's the best charity that we can do in terms of just getting a great product out there.
I think well spoken. I like the way you characterize that. I like, I'm a patriot and a capitalist also, and I think business, raises all of us, good business practices that helps all of us. So I like the way you framed that. And I think the respect, part that goes with it is so critically important. So, of course you pay people a good wage, but it's, on the other end, it's one of life's little luxuries to be able to have the opportunity to be able to buy good quality spirits like yours, like Machu Pisco. Often people say to me, I know, but this is a little expensive. Or, like when we talked about the olive oil with Natalia, Ravi, the couple of ladies who lunches ago, but quality products do cost, because of the ingredients that go into it and the work that goes into it. But I tell people, you're putting it in your body, you're tasting it, so you owe that to yourself, and I think to your families as well.
Right on. I mean, you're going to pay for it down the line with your health. One way or the other, you're going to pay for it. So it's you're drinking to feel good. It's a tonic. So if you treat yourself well, you're gonna feel well.
Totally. What do you think? Like you've won so many awards, gold awards. You've represented Peru. You're an, I dare say, right, an international business. So how do you did you expand little by little, or did you have a master 5-year plan that you said, I want to I want to own the world here?
Well, as you know, Leanne, I don't plan. I live one day at a time.
I have to tell people first that we were going to do this interview last week when Melanie she wrote to me and she said, I'm in Spain. We can try to make it work, but I don't make plans. So I love that, especially in this day and age. But she said, I'm helping a friend pick out vineyards. I said, well, that sounds fancy. But you were looking at ways to use the grape skins from your products. So we talked about that a little bit. So it didn't end up actually working. She was on her way back to Madrid, but we were like this close, to making it work. But I love that. I love that. So your plans, your master plans.
Well, I wanted to get a bottle of Machu Pisco on every bar in the world, and
I'm
that
right
was
there with you.
my vision for Machu Pisco. And part of that is to make it fairly priced, because I think that there's also a lot of abuse out there to the consumer when you are touting organic and you just get charged these astronomical prices, and it doesn't have to be that way. So it's also a part of going back to respecting the consumer and offering something that's affordable. So part of my mission is to be the number one Pisco producer in terms of the gold standard for quality, but also be able to have, it's such a joyous drink. I don't know about you, Liam, but I'm feeling kind of happy myself here. And there's a specific buzz you get with a Machu Pisco, and if I'm gonna be able to get behind every bar, then it's just getting it priced appropriately for people to have supernatural goodness at an affordable price. So that's my goal, to be all over the world. Right now we're in Australia, which is going through a severe lockdown. I don't know how we keep getting orders from them, but we're in Hong Kong and Europe. Um, Up and down from England all the way down to Italy. Um, have seen that we're in Romania, and our distributors in Europe, just it's a matter of just having good constant contact with them and getting them to spread our story, because we can't be everywhere. And it's just, I think business is just good human relations, right? Just
Yeah,
talking to people. A lot of people just don't want to get on the phone anymore, or they put out these like one-liner emails, and you're really not connecting. When you're being expedient,
I
you're
know.
losing that human touch, and that's at a detriment to your business because then you're just another vendor, you're just another salesperson, and you lose the charm of what it is your vision is.
Exactly. I think we're talking about that magic that we talked about before with you and your business, it's family, it's your creation. I think that is exuded, within the spirit itself. And I think the spirit is like a great way to describe your drink because it has spirit. I think that you're right that if people don't foster a relationship, and I think people want to have relationship, and I write in the book, sometimes people have a signature drink that's all they drink, and others they're always going down new paths, they want to try things. But I think part of the charm of your pisco is absolutely it tastes delicious, so there's that, and people want to continue to drink it because it blends well with others. It's such a, it can stand alone, but it also mixes well with other flavors and tastes. But then also I think that, uh, a point that it's just like great adventure. So it's like either way, when people try the pisco, and that's why initially I was thinking, oh, do this last week before Labor Day because I wanted people to be able to think for the long weekend. But then I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter because every day is an opportunity to try a new way to drink the pisco. And
Oh,
there's,
and I think
yeah,
like I also wanted to just what you said, a great adventure. And just for anyone that looking to start a business, I think that sometimes I would get overwhelmed with work because I do the accounting, and even though I delegate work um, to third parties, I'm still very much involved. And I used to sometimes think like, oh, I've got to get this off my plate, or oh, I've got this and I've got to do this. And then I would hurry through something to get onto the next thing and just like try to be this high achiever. But you really got to look at your business as an adventure, as this great adventure, and take joy in even those little things of doing your bookkeeping because you learn, hey, I could do this better next time, and just enjoying every moment of the ride. And
yeah.
I think that change in mindset has completely just improved the way that I connect to my own product, and just and once you get in your mind like, oh, this is going to take too much time, or calling that person is going to be burdensome, and just it's just getting into that positive mindset that everything you do um, is part of the fun, and looking
I
at it.
totally agree. People have to appreciate the journey. It's not, the end thing. That's why even when I was in public relations, people were always just seeing, the end is like, I'm going to be this or that. But they didn't really, not all of them, obviously, but some didn't have that same passion that you exude in putting into it. And that comes across loud and clear in the stories and in the product itself. I think that is like so critically important. You have to enjoy what you're doing.
And just in terms of the art of entertainment, which I feel like you've got a next book coming with that beautiful table setting, Leanne.
Oh, thank you.
But I do have to say that, and part of that is right what you serve as a cocktail and the story you're telling and the
Yeah,
adventure of
yeah.
drinking a grape spirit that Ava Gardner came down to Peru, drank some pisco sours, and danced on the table. John Wayne is known to be a Pisco fan. He married a Peruvian. Then we have the old masters of Rudyard Kipling and Ernest Hemingway. But it's got a lot of just spirit lovers and life lovers, just adventure seeking. It's a different spirit that's made from grapes. How delicious is that?
See, that's where everything started for me was the plants. And so when the plants, they feed us, they heal us, they nurture us, and they're so exotic, and the things that they can do and be made into, it's just that's inspiring in and of itself, I think. But you're right, I like the concept of having that cocktail or that drink experience. So you sort of elevate, it's a little luxury that everybody can do is to be able to create a very special happy hour, cocktail hour time with, time to sit and talk with your friends and family, at the same time. So do
It's
you have,
hard.
sorry?
No, I was gonna say cocktail hour at home is kind of a tradition lost in time. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But now, I mean, like I say in the book, but there's, furniture created for it, cocktail tables, your bar, your cocktail napkins, and so on. So it's a wonderful, wonderful lifestyle, I think. Do you have a favorite Pisco drink?
oh goodness. Let's see. I would say I make my own fresh juices in the morning.
Oh, nice.
And I stumbled upon a creation, which I just adore. It's grapefruit juice, freshly squeezed, with pressed ginger, honey, and la diablata. And
Oh,
over,
perfect.
and I say drink it in the morning.
That is good for me. That's what this had, the pressed ginger in it. So that's great minds think alike. I love to hear you say that because sometimes when you're making things, you're like, does this really go? Do you like it? We have the wedding couple coming in a couple weeks for the tasting. So I'm hoping they think the same. So that's good. I'll have to get that from you and maybe we can share it when I do my blog post as a follow up with this. That's great.
I would suggest, Leanne, also on the back of the Abuelita La Diablada bottle is a cocktail that Megan Dorman, she is this famous mixologist in New York that she created with the La Diablada Pisco, which is muddled red grapes and the La Diablada lemon juice and champagne. And it is just, oh my goodness, I could drink a whole bucket load of that.
Well, I have to be honest, I put in the champagne, we have our little mini orchard here at our country house. So the peaches were harvested 2 weeks ago. And so I put some in there. But then when I read her recipe on the back, that it's called Andean Dusk. I mean, how beautiful is that? So I said, you know what, this is perfect for a cocktail drink. So I just poured some of Amelia's, your pisco into it, which is fabulous. So we're going to wrap up shortly here, but going ahead, what do you see as like the future for your business and for what you think where women's owned businesses are going?
I feel like as a woman, you just you just want to be at the table to make the right decisions for your product. And sometimes it's just elbowing your way in and not really delegating that work to your distributors or partners, but really asking for a seat at the table. And I think that's been fundamental for our growth. Is that it does require more work, because you are at the table and you have to obviously put your input in. But it's okay if people don't take your advice or they don't take your path or see it your way. But you gotta have like an advocate. You have to be an advocate for your business and not just pawn it off for somebody else. So I would say that's the guiding light, and for for any woman to get a seat at the table, and things don't go your way, that's okay, but at least you were at the table, right? You
Did,
can't
when,
complain about not being there.
that is great advice, Melanie. When you started off, did you feel like you were the only woman in the business for most part? Did you have to really have some sharp elbows?
Oh, absolutely. It was, I mean, there's a conventional wisdom of how to do things, which is basically distill super fast so then you can save on labor costs, and just, using Roundup and glyphosate as weed killer, and all these conventional methods that a lot of the at that time were mostly men. But I don't guilt the men for that, because there are also women that
Along with
advocate
it,
for
right, right.
it's basically expediency, right?
Right.
And but what I did have to do is just basically, as the only female distiller in Peru when I started, because there's a lot of other women that may inherit it from their parents. I started this business with my sister Lizzie from scratch. So it was very much of saying, hey, this is the way we're going to do it, and we will, um, go against the grain on most issues, but you just have to stay the course.
Well, I think there's a reason why you're so successful in the spirit business, because you truly have great spirit and you have vision. And I thank you so much. Like I said, I loved you right off the pickle dish when I met you the first time. And I thank you again for all of your contributions and your families, to the book. I love meeting your mother, wonderful, wonderful woman. You come from a family of strong women, which is very evident in what you do. And I could keep talking to you. I know it's wonderful. But so, any last thoughts from you?
No, it's just stay right and do what you know is right, and things will just come together. Sometimes we don't know what the outcome's going to do, but we just got to follow that intuition. Um, Male or female, whatever is knocking inside, just go with it, and
Yeah.
things typically work out.
Yes. Well, I thank you very much for being our Ladies Who Lunch guest. I have to tell everyone that I sent Melanie her gift with the Ladies Who Lunch fork. That's sort of become a standard bearer with this. And somehow it got separated in the mail, but somehow the note and the fork still ended up coming to you. So there's another little bit of magic. So,
Excellent. Well, thank you for all those delicious recipes in the art of the garnish, and I'm going to try them out this fall uh, because there are some really special treats in there.
all right. Thank you so much to you and to Lizzie and for your leadership.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Leanne. Take care. Cheers.
Ciao.
Bye.